Big picture question here. Michael Davis says, do we still consider Miami a traditional top 20 program going off the last 20 years, aka my years of watching football? Boy.
In terms of brand, yes. In terms of performance, no. So everybody still knows Miami. Now, it's not like, okay, Miami won a championship yesterday. Miami, right? But yeah, no, Miami is among the upper echelon of program, name brand, okay? In terms of that, in terms of being known, and things of that nature. Because, Marshall Thomas, who used to ride with us, he's from Utah, right? And is a Miami Hurricanes fan. Now, his father was from down here in, Hollywood, and he grew up like, whatever. But, even Marshall, and I've seen the same things, if I go traveling places, and I wear some Miami stuff, like when I went to Portland or went to Oregon for vacation this summer, I was wearing a Miami Hurricanes jacket and went to Powell's bookstore. And I'm in the bookstore, just walking around with, not saying anything to anybody. It's like, yeah, cool. Like, that was my little bomber jacket. Hey, man, go Canes. And I'm like, yeah, bro, go Canes. Like, it's that kind of a thing. Like, I've seen people be like, oh, yeah, I was traveling for work and I was wearing my pullover on the plane. I'm going to Heathrow. I'm going to Singapore. I'm going to wherever of these places around the world. And people are like, oh, yeah, Miami. Miami is known, right? So on a brand perspective, absolutely a top 20, right? Absolutely, unquestionably. In terms of winning, the answer is no. Because Miami's won the division once, shared the division one other time, and then self-penalized from going to the ACC championship or a bowl game that year. Have won one bowl game in the last 16 years. Things like that. Have had one 10-win season, I believe, the 2017 season. So in terms of winning over the last 20 years, no, I wouldn't put Miami in that top 20 group. So, but Miami's still a name brand university, athletic department, football program. So I separate them that way. I don't know if that answers your question or makes sense to you, Michael, but like, people around the world still know the University of Miami, still know Canes football, but for what was done previously, not for the success on the field now, if that makes sense.
I can't really argue with any of that. I'm right on board with all of that. I'll put this spin on it. That let's not go back to black and white film. Let's stay in the last 40 to 50 years. Absolutely. Miami's not even, on the fringe of being in the top 20. They're clearly in the top 20, and I'm just talking football. I'm just talking performance on the field. Okay, if we bring it forward to what we're looking at right now, I posted a video that many of you very graciously received with salt in the wound, as of sorts, with a bitter taste of medicine, I should say, maybe 2 years ago, where I went through winning percentages and I went through how many programs have been ranked in the top 10 at the conclusion of the season. And I took this back to when Miami started to slip, like 04, 05 range. And 57% winning percentage was putting them right in the category of Georgia Tech and Kansas State and those kind of schools. It was like 46th in the country or something like that. And I was breaking it all down, and that's what it was. So that's what the cold, hard facts are. Now, again, there's a lot of context to put there in terms of history, impact on the game, brand recognition, popularity, TV view, all that stuff completely changes that if you're putting it all together. Plus, on top of it, for this current version of Miami football, nothing's been produced on the field to show us a top 20 team. However, is the roster a top 20 roster? Yes. Is the head coach a top 20 coach? By body of work? Yes. And the coaching staff he put together? Clearly one of the best in the country. Yes, they should be producing that result soon.
Yeah, should be. And that's, again, the goal, which is where my level of consternation comes from, because there's not a top 20 program that loses to Middle Tennessee. period, point blank. You know, like it's just, you can go to that single data point, you know, and it's like when I was going to all these recruiting camps years ago, and you know, I was standing with a couple of guys. I mean, it was like, yeah, people who were, you know, in the industry, right? So it's this is before Gabby was even with the site, like, you know, Andrew Ivins and Dieter Kurtenbach, who now is out in the Bay Area and whatnot, and Christy Cabrera before she even started, you know, transition to the UMB or transition to the University of Miami, David Ferones, like all the other guys at SSV, or, you know, people around. And, you know, we're watching warmups, and Pat Sertan Jr., 7th grader, warming up with the or 8th grader at the time, warming up with the varsity players. And, you know, they do the back pedal, you know, flip your hips, run to the sideline, catch the ball drill. Everybody knows this drill, right? And he just did it so smooth. And there was another guy next to him who was, I mean, built the way that Sertan, because he wasn't always, I mean, he was thin and maybe like 6'1", you know, but he's 8th grader, right? And there was another kid who was a junior rising senior, and he had offers from pretty much everybody. And he couldn't make that play, that one play in the warm-up period. And I just remember multiple people there with me. They're like, it's not a D1 player. You're like, oh, wait. Sub 4.6, you know, because most people don't run 4.4. So he's sub 4.6, maybe 4.5-ish in the 40s, 6'1", probably 210, playing safety. If you can't do that and not think about it, you're not a D1 player. We don't got to see anything, and the other parts will then just fill in the rest of that story. You're not a top 20 program in the similar way. If you don't beat Middle Tennessee, who then lost at home to Texas San Antonio, the Fighting Roadrunners, the Larry Cokers, because he started that program, right? The next week, they got blown out by James Madison 44-7. That's a team stepping up from FCS who's not eligible for a bowl game because the first year that you transition to a different level, you're not eligible for the postseason. But they're undefeated and everything, right? So Miami is not the caliber of program on the field as James Madison, as Texas San Antonio, UTSA. Not by performance right now.
It would be so fun to be able to, you know, if this was a different sport and you could play a zillion games and not beat people up, or you could change the schedule and say, man, Middle Tennessee just lost to Texas San Antonio. Texas San Antonio, Hard Rock next week. I just want to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, they spread it out. They got a nice quarterback. He's a lefty too. You know, they go tempo, they go vertical, and, you know, things like that. So, you know, hey.